what you really should know. And I talked to Will's assistant. She sent me a message first asking if I would take it down. Yeah, of course. So I took it down. And we talked about this a little bit further, and I thought that it would be a better idea. Well, Will actually mentioned that we should do a conversation between me and him, and giving him a chance to explain all the ins and outs of this, because even though it may seem, I think, even when you actually get your head wrapped around this, it's a lot simpler than you would think when you first start out. Kind of like math problems are. So he thought it was best, and I totally agreed with him on that, to take the video down and come around and do something like this, to where me and him can talk about it, and David too. David just recently started Will's class. I'll let him give you guys all that information, and Will, if you just want to take it away and explain what it is that you're doing, for all of us kindergartners, break it down for us, and then if you'd like to get a little more detailed and intricate about it, by all means, jump in. I just figured it would be better for the general masses to hear what he has to say. Let him explain it in his own words, because he can do that better than I can. So yeah, definitely, Will, anytime you want, just jump on in and let us know what this is about.
All right. So everybody knows, yeah, I messed up way more than I got it right for a long time. Studied everyone. I started back in '98 and trying to figure out what was going on. And it wasn't until really 2017, 18, 19 that I started coming across information that made sense. And then when I was ready, Father brought me to somebody I consider a mentor out in California, who basically figured out the commerce side of court, commerce side of IRS, basically the commerce side of this whole game. And what it really comes down to is, you've been running a company, you can call it a trust, you call it whatever you want. I'm not going to get into the semantics of it, but I do know the Federal Judicial Center flat out tells you that it's proof that an organization was organized, and that's your birth certificate. And so you've been running around using that thing as your little boat to play in this commercial world. And so they hold you liable for all of it, whether they hold you as trustee, surety, I don't care. I just, I know when I look at a checkbook, the microprint line that you sign on says authorized representative. So, I mean, there's so many different hats you could be wearing at any given time. So when I was out west, I started learning more about the UCC, and you should really tear through UCC 3-501 and go all the way through the fives. And then you should also know what a UCC 3-419 accommodation party is. Because one of the things I do if I'm in front of some people is I'll hold up a birth certificate, and then I'll hold up a piece of paper called the state of, whatever state you want to put. And I'll say, how can these two pieces of paper do intercourse? Commercial intercourse. Let's not be too perverted here today. How can these two pieces of paper do anything together? They can't. They can't. They need accommodation parties. That's why you have an attorney, a prosecutor, pro se cutter, whatever you want to say. They bring the state of into court. The IRS can't talk to you either. So on some of your documents, you might say, you might see sincerely, blah, 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 operations manager. Like, so there's your accommodation party there. Heck, you might get something from a lawyer for a law firm. Well, he's the accommodation party for that law firm. So you just have to start understanding who's doing what to whom. And so when you get into UCC 3-5, you're going to understand what a presentment is. And anything that's coming to you in this water world, go watch that movie again. Anything that's coming to you in water world is a presentment. And if you've ever, my definition calls are free. There's 14 weeks of them. They're an hour. Heck, I know they're floating around out there. There's people I've never met in my life who've told me that they know who I am. And the reason I did those calls was so that people could learn the words, because without the words, you don't know what you're doing. Um, I was at a seminar. We'll leave the guru nameless, and people kept coming up to me. Well, why don't you put on a seminar? I said, because I'm not. You're not going to get anything out of it. Like, what are you going to take home from that? And go read Matthew 13. It talks about the 4 different types of people, the sower of seeds. And so I wasn't going to have, the first 3 types of people. I just want the 4th type of person, the one that's going to yield 160 or 30 fold. And so I said, the only way I'm doing this is if it's a webinar, or better yet, if it's a workshop. And so we ended up creating a class around all this, where I actually just do presentments on camera. And then there's a lot of other stuff that they've added to the class, but that's what I created. So let's talk about how this started. I started with these 14 weeks of definition calls, and some of the definitions you should be familiar with. Like, everybody gets something mailed to them from time to time, be it a mortgage, be it a credit card, heck, even the IRS. The IRS will put on their paperwork that it's a voucher. Do you even know what the definition of voucher is? It says receipt, acquittance, evidence of payment. So if it's a receipt, acquittance, or evidence of payment, why are you paying again? And I remember I'd order some uniforms for my daughters for school, and they sent me this $100 wine voucher on the same day that the IRS sent me a voucher. And my dad, a very intelligent man, I said, Dad, how come this voucher is $100 and I'm excited, and the IRS voucher is for this amount and I'm supposed to be scared? Can you explain that to me, Dad? He's like, all right, what are you trying to teach me? And now, mind you, my dad, he's not an attorney, but he went to law school. He passed law school. I handle all his stuff. And I said, yeah, you don't know the definition of voucher, Dad. That's your problem. And so I read him the definition of voucher. He goes, so what are you going to do? You're going to accept that, aren't you? I go, yeah. And then all the IRS stuff's going to go away. So when you understand that a voucher is a receipt, acquittance, evidence of payment, then you can say, all right, well, that was one type of presentment. They're not all going to be vouchers. I said, absolutely right. They're not. But you need to get into the definition of offer. Because when you get in there, the first one's the verb, the second one's the noun. And I could read it to you, but just do it yourself. It'll tell you it has an expected acceptance. It's expected, an expected acceptance. And when I talk about the dictionary, I use Black's 6th. And the reason, if you read in the foreword, it's the only one in all the Black's Law dictionaries that in the foreword will say debtor-creditor relations. It's the only one. That's why I use that one. You can use 4, 5, 8, 13. I don't care what you use, but I use 6. The other thing I use is Burton's Legal Thesaurus. And the reason I do that, and I actually I had a Monday night call last night where I read some stuff out of this book just to remind people of how important this is. And I think I scanned my entire Burton's that I taught, and it's in a PDF, so you can have access to it. I can get that to you, Chris. But one of the words that everybody should know is it's not that one. I'm in construction. That's funny. Here we go. Contract. So in Burton's, there's a thing called foreign phrases. And it's basically, they'll give you some Latin and then they'll give you the English version of it. But it's very, very telling when you read this. I'm just going to read a couple of these ones out of contract, just so you can get a feel for Burton's and how powerful it is. You should read Equity in Burton's. It's amazing. Let's see. He who contracts with another is not, or ought not, be ignorant of his condition. All right, so what capacity are you in? An agreement, let's not do that one. By agreement, things are allowed which are not otherwise permitted. So you can contract into unlawful stuff. We're going to get into another one that talks about that. It's on the other page. I'm on page 125 if you have a Burton's 4th. Let me find this one. We don't want that one. The agreement of parties controls the law. Let's go on. Custom, convention, and agreement of the parties overrule the law. Think about that. So when you go into court and you're asking for your constitution, and there's you've got another law firm because you've contracted with these people, they're going to tell you don't have those rights in this court. And I know for a fact because I videoed one of my Zoom calls, and I asked the commissioner, I said, could you please read me my right to remain silent? He said, you don't have those rights in this hearing. Now, I knew that, but I wanted that for people that told me I do have my constitution. Well, you do, but you just don't know how to get it. But if you're not doing it the way you can do it, there is a very specific way you can do it, then no, you're involved in a contract, and the contract is the law. And that's what this Burdens is telling you. And here's the best thing you're ever going to learn about any contract you've ever gotten yourself into. Nothing is so agreeable to natural equity as that a thing should be dissolved by the same means by which it was bound. So how did you get bound into something? Well, you signed it.
Yeah.
So there's probably
Send it.
What's that?
I think she didn't realize she was mute.
So that's where you can go into page 1307, 1308 in Black 6, and it'll talk about rescission of contract. And everyone's like, I do a repudiation. Well, that's good. The rescission of contract necessarily involves a repudiation. A repudiation does not involve a rescission of contract. A rescission of contract is from the beginning and not from the day you do it. So if I rescission something, it never happened. Because if I rescission, it goes all the way back to the beginning, then I've never signed it. And when you get to the top of the second page, it'll tell you it's an action of an equitable nature, but it'll give you three choices. You've got mutual mistake, fraud, and impossibility. Well, I have to prove fraud and I have to prove impossibility. But if I simply say, I made a mistake, who can tell me I didn't? Nobody.
Initiated.
So when I made a mistake signing up for the driver's license, that caused you to make a mistake and giving me a traffic ticket. And that's the mutual mistake. Now, what if you went into court and you pled not guilty? Well, what they gave you was an offer. You weren't supposed to be pleading. They gave you an offer. You were supposed to be accepting the offer. And how do I know this? Because when I read the definition of dishonor, it reads to refuse to accept or pay an amount. Well, I'm not paying if I can just do my acceptances. Go read dishonor. You want to be in honor, then accept. You want to be in dishonor, refuse to accept. And how did you refuse to accept? Because you're pleading. So for me, when they say, how do you plead guilty or not guilty? To me, they're saying, how are you paying or not paying? And everyone's like, not paying. And to me, like, why? Again, this has nothing to do with you. It has to do with you being the authorized representative, the accommodation party, surety, trustee, whatever you want to say. It's you not handling the business affairs of the entity. So don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you, except for you need to perform the duties of the position you're in. And by accepting those offers, you can make them go away. You can make them get discharged. And I know it works. Because heck, it was only a couple months ago I got my friend out of 2 different prisons. And now the federal court's messing around, and there's things for that too. But I know it works. And I think I've even shown Chris the county and the actual document showing case disposed. I mean, it's online. I'm just not going to point it out to everybody. So what you have to understand is this is business. It's nothing personal. Watch The Godfather. It's business. It's nothing personal. So don't go in there. I'm a man. Yeah, they know, because a fiction couldn't bring that fictional piece of paper to court. Like, how could a piece of paper bring another piece of paper to court? It doesn't have legs. But you are there as some type of person that day, and you're there to facilitate the transaction of business. So help them transact the business and go home. Stop warring against these people.
Just to let you know, I think Chris dropped off, but you can go ahead and continue what you're saying.
Yeah, I saw his face bounce around the screen and then it left. So to me, it made things a lot simpler, made it a lot less combative. I still think that there are some things that can be improved upon. I'll give you an example. I believe I believe the vouchers that are coming to you in the mail, I believe that they're actually dividend checks. The way we accept them makes them go away, and that's fine. But I think there's more to be done with that. I just haven't explored it quite yet. Well, not to the extent that it could be explored. I have explored it. I'm just working on a couple of other things right now. And I've got to have singularity of purpose or else nothing gets done. But
Jimmy said in the chat he'd like to talk to you about those. He might be able to help. I want to take a minute since Chris just joined again.
Yeah.
Before we continue in the call, Chris, can you explain why you chose our group? And I'd like to introduce my admins, Jimmy Bennett and Larry Dobson, on the call.
Yeah, absolutely. They seem to be, I'll tell you, Will, they just seem to be more productive. No nonsense, asking very, very intelligent questions. And a lot of the stuff that they're doing in here, they're doing without my help. These are go-getters. David, half of this group was David's before I even started doing videos. There's nothing green about these folks. They're very focus minded. I appreciate talking with them the most out of all the other groups that I've got. Not that the other groups are any less valuable. This group here, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from the folks in this group. A lot of them mentioned things that I would have never even looked into if they hadn't mentioned this stuff. And every little bit of that helps. I mean, we all learn from other people. That's why I thought that getting Will in here with this thing, our thought processes are probably night and day. Where I would challenge a jurisdiction, he hits it head on.
I need them to have jurisdiction or else they can't settle it.
Yeah, that's right. But we've tackled this whole mindset the same way. With me, it was child support. If I hadn't had such a raw deal in child support, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. A lot of people out here listening already know this. That'll do it to you. When you get screwed around by the government and you really want to fight, you have to go out and learn the techniques. Like taking martial arts, mixed martial arts, or anything like that. You got to learn the techniques if you want to fight. And that's what I did. I'm tired of getting pushed around. And a lot of people that have done time in the service, we're already fighters. That's why I don't foresee this country ever being invaded. Not easily. We just need to get our government. We need to get our government back in line. But this group here, well, I thought out of all the groups that I've been connected with, they're on point. A lot of the folks in this group here have my cell phone number. I don't give that out freely. Like I know you're well aware yourself. It's not something you can throw around when you're doing what we do. But I wanted people in David's group to hear what you say, because I know they're going to ask some questions after you explain, maybe whenever you get ready to, the process, how you go about this. Say I'm one of your clients, and I get in trouble and I call you from the jail. Hey, Will, I'm in trouble, man. How would you respond to that?
First, I'd ask, did you sign anything? Because I want to know if you've now contracted to be in jail. Because that would be the first one that we'd have to rescission to get you out of there. Have you entered a plea? What stage are you in? And then what do you know? I guess the biggest reason this call came about was, I'm sure everybody on this call has heard of magic paperwork. So when Chris was discussing what to do in court. I don't really care if you have my script, but having my knowledge is way more important than that script, because what it all really comes down to is an accounting. And so if you go to Black's Law, I think it's page 16 or 18, I want to say 18, there's the two biggest, most important words to me are account rendered and account stated. An account rendered is an account made by one party and given to the other party for his examination and acceptance. And then once it becomes accepted, it becomes an account stated. So then you read account stated. It's an account stated is an account to which nothing further can be added. It's an agreed settlement between parties to which nothing further can be added. So fantastic. So if I'm in court, all I care about is getting the rendered account. Some people might call it a true bill, like whatever you want to. I just need them to render the account. Everything else outside of that is them trying to get me to give them an offer. And now, why would they do that? Let's back up. What does a judge rule on? A controversy. One person has to say one thing, the other person has to say another thing, and they have to be in conflict with one another, and the judge can then say, all right, I have something to rule upon. When you see what we do, think of a piece of paper, draw a line from top to bottom, right down the middle. Everything on the left is the prosecutor, everything on the right is the defendant or the pro se.
Credit and debits, like accounting.
There, obviously, think about it. What are they saying? Jesus was on a cross, right? It's all when you start to understand all this stuff. And he died for our debts. Everyone says sin, but sin is debt, debt is sin. So anyway, so I digress. So you have that piece of paper, you've got the left side, you got the right side. Everything that comes in on the left-hand side is going to be an offer that has an expected acceptance. Now, depending on when I come into the case, if somebody's been arguing for a year, then there's a bunch of stuff on the right-hand side. So if there's stuff on the right-hand side, the judge now has to rule which side has a better argument. So what I do, I'll rescission damn near everything on that right-hand side. Obviously I have to read the document to make sure that it, so let's say that the pro se put in 7 motions. I have to rescission all 7 of them. If the, let's say they threw a public pretender on him, then fine. Then that guy is still you speaking on behalf of the entity. You have to rescission all his crap too. So once I clean up the right-hand side of the page, you still got involved in a business deal. So all the stuff on the left-hand side still has to be honored. Remember, dishonor, to refuse to accept or pay an amount. So since I don't know anyone who has successfully done, I can't really say that. I don't know anyone who has systematically, time and time again, done the SF bonds properly. So you can't pay. You don't know how to pay. So we'll just accept. So if I accept all the offers on the left-hand side, then what is the dispute? What is there to rule upon? Everything's been honored on the left-hand side of the page. The right-hand side of the page is naked. There's nothing there. It's all been removed, as if it never happened. Remember, rescission, as if it never happened. You're a magician. Poof, gone. So you got a blank right-hand side, and everything on the left-hand side has been accepted, and now there's nothing further for the judge to adjudicate. And that's when the case should be dismissed. Now, can they push it further? Yes, but that gets into different types of acceptance. So one type of acceptance is for if they actually rendered an account. So let's say the prosecutor put in a motion that you have to shave your beard, and the judge then a week later orders that you have to shave your beard. Well, the motion is not a rendered account. Why? Because if you honor, if you honor that motion, there's still something that will happen after that, and that's that order. There's something that will happen after that motion. So that first one, that motion, is what I would call a 3-step. And if you study UCC 3-5, you'll see that it talks about presentment, it talks about acceptance, it talks about notice of dishonor, and then it talks about notarial protest, which is a certificate of dishonor. That's what you can do to that. Now, the second one is an order, and order is a rendered account. Once accepted, nothing further is added to it. So that is what we call a one and done. You're just going to have your acceptance, and that one's over. So understanding and being able to distinguish between a 1-step and a 3-step and a rescission, and heck, you might even have, so let's say that somebody got an order, and you know it's a 1-step acceptance, but at the bottom you see your pro se, your defendant, and I call them my assignments. My assignment signed the order. Well, no, you're supposed to accept the order, not sign it. Don't contract into the order. So what we do then is how can I make it so that he never signed it? I would have to rescission his signature from that document. Then I would have to do the 1-step acceptance, and then I would be finished with that one. So there are nuances. There are things you have to learn. Obviously, the paperwork itself, you have to learn. You have to understand what everything means. But once you understand what you're doing, going into court is not a big deal. I'll give you an example. So I had a guy get stuck. They're like, they kept asking me my name and I didn't want to testify. And then I said, yeah, that's right. You don't want to testify. Court is jeopardy. I just ask questions. I mean, there's a video, that I show people in the class. I just ask questions to the guy over and over and over and over and over. I never answered the guy's question, not one time, because I don't have to, especially when I can answer in the form of a question that is on point. When you're in court, and they say, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God? No, oh no, I can't do that. My Heavenly Father asked me not to swear. You know how many times I've done that to them? And they say, well, let the record reflect. I said, thank you, Your Honor. I accept your offer to have the record reflect, and I return the offer to you for closure and sum of the account. And I go write down, the script. And well, state your name for the record. Well, I don't have to do that because I never get in that situation. Why? Because I openly say it when I go in there. Greetings, Your Honor. I'm here by, greetings, Your Honor. I, William, am here by special appearance and not a general appearance with explicit reservation of all my rights. Would you please render the account?
What else is there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So then it's funny because I was at so I was at the Guru's seminar, and at the end I said, look, I'll talk for an hour afterwards. You just have to turn off the internet. You're not putting me on the internet. And he said, okay. So, I went through the first thing I said, and I had given people a printout of all the definitions we were going to cover. I said, all right, who here knows what a special appearance is? I'd say 80-90% of the people raised their hand. I said, all right, good, fantastic. What is it? And the first one was like, it's, I said, no. How about you? And all of a sudden you start seeing hands go down. It's just kind of funny. Because I'll be the first to say, I don't know anything. I double check everything in my books.
Deleted his info.
I double check everything in the books. And here's why. Your special appearance means you're there for one reason and one reason only, and not for all matters of the suit. Well, why am I there? How may I settle this today? That's all I care about. Could you please render the account? How may I settle this today? Like, I only want to settle this business deal today. I don't care about anything else. Oh, you say that there's all these facts that say I'm skinny, I'm ugly, I don't have all my teeth. Great. I love your facts. They're on the moon. They have nothing to do with this case. Can you please now render the account? I don't care. I don't care what your facts are. Your facts mean nothing to me. The docket means everything to me. Have I honored everything that needs to be honored? Have I rescissioned everything that needs to be rescissioned? The docket proves. What does it prove? Honor or dishonor. So as long as I've done what I need to do with that docket and everything that's been filed therein, then fine, I'm good. I'm done. So I don't care what your facts are. he didn't pay taxes for 7,365 years. Fantastic, Your Honor. I accept his offer for me not having paid taxes for 7,365 years, and I return your offer to you for closure and selling the account. Like, I don't care. Can we please render the account now?
So
I'm asking for them to give me the order of the court. And
so
the
this is-
reason being is the defendant is favored after judgment. Why? Because the judgment is the rendered account. Once you accept the judgment, it's done.
Yeah.
sorry, I had to mute some people, but a quick aside, this kind of seems like the proper way to ask for subrogation. Or am I off track on that?
Well, so when I talk about subrogation, I basically talk about, let's say you're a co-signer for your kid.
Okay.
So if you pay for your car, let's say you get a car, for your son or daughter, and then they decide, no, I want to hang out with my friends and I don't want to go to work and I can't pay for the car, and you pay for the car. Well, that car is now yours. That's how I look at subrogation. So you're purchasing the rights of the creditor when you pay for the case. To me, that is more of an SF 2425A or SF 273, 274, 275 thing if it's federal. That to me is if you're doing the bonds, you're doing the back end thing. This, I'm just facilitating them to do whatever they need to do to settle the deal.
Okay. I didn't want to go off, but I was trying to squash the illusion of people can go in and ask for subrogation. So that's kind of why I interrupted. But people can go in and ask for subrogation. People can go in and ask for subrogation. So that's kind of why I interrupted. But
I studied. Look, I studied with Rourke for years. He took all Christian Walter stuff. I know a couple people that had success with subrogation, but by and large, I can't say that the majority did.
That's the only reason why I interrupted you. So,
so I know about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Please keep going. I don't want
No, but to me, yeah. I mean, if you see, I know a gentleman who was 10 for 10, basically doing a peace bond and ending cases and actually getting people out of jail with it. And to me, then yeah, you are actually paying because you put forward substance in the form of a fake bond. We have fake money, everything's fake, so whatever. They put substance forward. So yeah, if you paid for that, then maybe you jump to the rights of the creditor in that situation because you actually paid, you performed. In this scenario, we're just facilitating.
Okay.
It's different.
Well, good. Thank you. I was playing devil's advocate for a second, so I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with that as well.
Okay. So please continue. You're filling everybody's head with great knowledge, Will.
Yeah, I mean, anything that I would say now would just kind of be like going in a circle. To me, I would get into the definitions. And Chris, if you're connected to this group, I'll find the 14 weeks of definition calls. Black 6 is on PDF. You don't even have to buy the book.
Yeah.
And my Burton's, I think I photocopied all the relevant pages that I go over. I can provide that too. So you'll have all my highlights and you'll have my little notes in the margin too. So that's kind of cool.
That's great, man. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. And I sure would share it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's the only reason that class costs anyone is because I wanted people to show up. It was $10 to go each Monday night. Like it was, and I know that I'm worth more than $5 an hour because I gave $5 to the guy that hosted it for me. I was trying to get people to a level of understanding that that we could have a class. And then we had a class, and I think it was kind of successful. It wasn't completely what I would have hoped for that class. And then the second class didn't happen because we couldn't turn around the video in time to, the whole thing just turned into a cluster, to where I had to create a class with a couple other people on my own, which we now have. And that's one where I literally sat in front of a camera and did, I don't know, 30 or 40 IRS presentments. I did some court presentments. Obviously we redacted the names of the people, but all the other information's there, so you can see me go like step by step through this stuff. Because it's if you've been in this like actively in this and not an observer, we call them cheerleaders. There's not enough quarterbacks. But if you've been a quarterback in this I don't even like to call it a movement, in this awakening, you'll pick it up. You'll pick it up quickly. I teach it the way I wish I had been taught it. But I mean, I've pretty much told you like everything. It's again, just the Federal Judicial Center. I mean, I even saw there was a guy that used to be connected with the federal marshals, and now I think he's like broken out on his own. And I even saw him put up the little clip of the Federal Judicial Center on YouTube, where the lady says, the stakes are even higher now. Getting the correct legal name is the most important thing. Getting the correct legal name of a registered organization, which is held at the Secretary of State. And the guy goes, "Oh, I hear they sometimes refer to that as a birth certificate." It's like, duh, hello, that's the Federal Judicial Center telling you that the registered organization birth certificate, that's what you've been running. And so
Will, if someone wanted to join and be privy to your knowledge and your group's knowledge, how would they go about that?
You have to type in exactly 2 words, peace, PEACE, because we like people just to go to peace, and then ledger, because this is all about the accounting. So peace and ledger, and I believe it's .org.
It is.
Yeah.
I've somebody vouched for me to join your group.
Okay.
I'm in touch with your assistant, Rebecca.
Okay, cool.
And the only reason why I didn't go through with it is because my handwriting is atrocious and I have to practice my signature. And also,
it took me 10 minutes to get that right.
I'm left-handed. It's even harder to get it right.
I'm a lefty too, man.
Oh, there you go.
Trust me.
Yeah. Ditto.
We grew up our whole lives with blue ink on our pinky because we would drag our hand across. Yeah, I know. Yep.
Yeah, but we've also been in our right brain all our lives too.
Not according to my family.
Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. We're all in the same boat. So explain to them, Will, why you need the signature.
I'll give you an example. So I did a bunch of IRS work for an attorney in Pennsylvania. Good guy. I can actually, there are some good attorneys out there. He's very honest about what he does for a living. And I said, I need to get your signature so we can get a stamp so I can stamp the documents. He goes, we don't need to do that. Just bring the paperwork up. After I brought the paperwork up, he got a signature stamp. He said, we're never doing this again. I said, I told you. But sometimes some people have to go through it. So you get the signature stamp because, I mean, I have an accepted stamp. It's accepted, all capital letters in quotes. I have a date stamp. And then I have a signature stamp, and I call it the birthday cake. You stack them, accept, date, sign. So when I'm doing something, like presentment comes to me, I accept it, I date it, I sign it. And then obviously there's a letter that goes with it, and I call it the in reply to. We're replying to their offer, to their presentment. And it's the in reply to that to me is the magic. It's the complete competency, the understanding of what you're doing.
And when you can do that, you can help people. You can really help a lot of people. I mean, I tell people, look, if you're struggling for work, do this, because I promise you, you can find thousands of people that need your help instantly. And you could make a great living helping people who just don't care about what we care about, but still need the problem to go away.
That's how your course was pitched to me. I don't want to say it was like a sales pitch, but the person that vouched for me to get into your group, first of all, it's your intake process to have your signature right for your signature stamp. So let's not get that too far off topic, but also it's like, listen, if I really like studying law and really like helping people and really like fighting against the man and this corrupt court system, they said, David, this course is for you. And because you and I have met previously, I didn't know you had this course when you and I first met. So I'm just like, all right, if you're doing it, sign me up. And then I found out Chris was in the process of it, and a couple other people I will keep nameless for privacy. But I mean, I'm all over it with 2 feet. I just got to get my signature right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the whole onboarding process to me is a little quirky. And that's why, like, if you get messed up, that's why Rebecca's, look, none of this would have happened without her. It's just because, I mean, I can't help you with any of that stuff. I'll help you with like any questions you have, any court case stuff, any presentment issues you're looking at, something just doesn't look right. I can help you all day long with that stuff. But getting inside the class, now that's the other 2 folks. And that was done by design, because I don't need to be the master of all things. I just need to be the master of the thing that I'm the master of. And one other thing, this is not one, it's not my class, it's the class of 3 of us. And it's not my information. I learned this from someone else. The only thing that's mine is my head and my style of teaching. That's the only thing that is mine, is how I'm able to assimilate the information and then get it out to the masses. Because to me, if we were in court and doing this stuff, we could shut down the prisons. But at the same time, there are certain people that need the state to be their daddy, and they need to be in prison because they just can't act right. They can't behave.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't say warring against the system. Like my bigger perspective on this whole thing is there's a bunch of dudes who had knowledge handed down to them generation after generation after generation. And they created some companies, and those companies created some companies, and hell, these counties are companies, and states are companies, and everything's a company. So good for them. Good for them. Why don't I just set up my own county? Why don't I set up my own stuff? And then I'll set up my own buildings. And I can find like-minded people, and we can set up our own crap. And then we don't need their stuff. Like there's a website out there right now called Liberty Dollar. We could pay each other in Liberty Dollar. It's silver coin. And they, based on whatever spot is, you can have, like, I could have like 300 silver coins, and that's times whatever spot, that's what my account value is. And if I need to pay you, $200, they'll do the math and they'll send 200, silver, whatever, over to you. And we can transact through each other. We don't need FRNs. We don't need any of this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the biggest thing, if you don't want to be part of it, don't play. Set up your own stuff. So, like, I don't war against these people. I'm just like, man, I wish you just didn't have such a big head start, because, man, we're up against it now. But yeah, to me, I'm all about, let's just set up our own stuff. We don't have to work with them. There's nothing that says I have to contract with them. As a matter of fact, Article 1, Section 10 says, will not interfere in the obligation of contract. That's why all your trusts work, all your private trusts. That's why your PMAs work. That's why all that stuff works.
Yeah.
I've been trying to build up a lot of buzz for this class because I want to make sure we had a big turnout, because I know what Chris's intentions were. He said to me privately, he was going through whatever you're teaching, and he's like, man, there's so much information, I had to take a break. So why don't, because I'm about to sign up and become, I'm going to go through your process, and we've already stumbled about how my handwriting is terrible, so I can't even get that far yet. But what, how fast can somebody go through your program, and what would they expect to do? Because I was told I can probably get through it in about 6 weeks.
Well, I mean, I don't know, how much free time do you have a day?
I have all free time, especially the
Well,
winter
hell
time.
yeah, then you could. Yeah, I mean, Rebecca told me one day about a girl who had just won her court case. I said, well, I didn't even know she was in the class. And she goes, let alone doing paperwork. I said, you know, like I would like to be able to look at people's first work product to make sure that they completely understand. And so I'm in the process right now of creating a like kick you out of the nest final test so that like we talk one-on-one. I can ask you some very specific questions, see if you have the answers, and make sure that you're completely prepped to get out. But if you've got, I mean, there's already people who've gone through the whole thing, and obviously it's on demand. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to wait for me. The only reason I talk about a Monday night call is there's times where people will put presentments in there and I do them, but now I've been trying to get them to do the presentment so I can see what they think is correct. And then we can go through and say, yeah, you nailed it, or no, here's where this is wrong, here's where this is wrong, and we can correct it. So the Monday night calls are really just a supplement and add-on for people who have questions that like they can't get it clear. Like, and it was cool because I think it was 2 weeks ago, one lady said, well, you've got some templates. And so I went back and I reviewed the templates, and I templates that make sense to me, I for lack of a better word, I dumbed them down even more. I made them so ridiculously specific that like I don't think you can misinterpret what they say now. So there's like people will go through the class and they'll say, well, in the class it says this, and I'll say, okay, well, let's take a look at the entirety of what it was saying, and then if there's something that can be tweaked or made better, like student feedback's huge for that. But I think,
think
yeah, I think you could easily get through it. I mean, hell, I think you could get through it in a month. If you've got all day, I think you could get through the thing in a month.
I think you just helped nail Chris's point to this group and the audience that you're talking to tonight. We are very intelligent, so a lot of people in this group, I know I have the time, but a lot of people in this group will pick up on the material very quick, from what I understand.
I would,
Yeah, it's not hard to grasp. It's just a lot of it. There's a lot of information, and some of it's redundant.
oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
so it's not, but it's not that hard to get your head around. It's a simple process. It really is. It's just learning, I think, to do the paperwork the correct way. And but I think once most people get their head wrapped around this, they're going to take off and run with it. And the more people that can learn to do this effectively, and get out there and do this stuff, the more effect it's going to have on the system as a whole.
Well,
Uh,
I think most of us in this group are 25 to 50% ahead of whoever's walking into this as a newbie. But I mean, I don't want to brag, but I mean, Chris, you know what we talk about in this group, and you know all the
oh
stuff
yeah,
we come up with. So I think we
yeah.
have at least 25% of the course down in our head. But I don't want to discount what Will's doing, because I know how important education is to him.
Yeah, well, we're a lot less. You can't be crazy brainwashed like green into this whole thing at the beginning, just waking up to this. But you know what? If you could have an open mind and be that way and be green too, I believe that you could learn this rather quickly. That's kind of the way it is. People that know a lot about this stuff, a lot of them will catch on to it. But people that don't know nothing about it or blank slate, sometimes they're good candidates for this. So I wouldn't discourage anyone at all from joining into this. I would think that it'd be beneficial to have an open mind. That's why we do what we do. We all have open minds, and we're able to listen to each other's ideas, and and think about it. We're out of the box thinkers, and this is an out of the box kind of thing. Because you don't normally look at that like I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to accept their offer. You know what I mean? That would
It's
be
hilarious, Chris. It's funny because I have a guy up in Michigan that like I've helped do a ton of stuff for, just like in life, not in law. And so he got pulled over, like he was in his garage when he got pulled over. It's just hilarious. And so when I gave him the script, and he's like, "Dude, I can't say I accept this. That means I'm guilty." And he started telling me my document. And I just started laughing. I was like, "So you know all this? Then you know the definition of all the words that you're talking about right now." He's like, "Well, I just know that." I said, "All right, well then what are you going to do?" He goes, I'll get an attorney." I said, "All right, well good luck with that."
yeah.
So basically what I told our mutual friend is I said, "Look, when it's all said and done, his ass is in jail, then I'll just have to a lot more paperwork to do, but we'll get him out, and then maybe he'll never
Yeah.
maybe he won't be such an ass next time." But the beauty of the thing that I am the happiest about for me, and this is selfish because I already know the material, is the software. So like when you're doing paperwork, so if somebody brings me a court case and there's 40 presentments that need to be either rescissioned or accepted or both,
Yep.
the beauty of the software is once I get it inputted and I get all the parties that need to be mailed to inputted, I just hit copy, I rename it, and I go to the next presentment. I change like 4 or 5 things. I think I was doing 3 presentments in 1 music song. So it was so freaking awesome. And it prints them all. I'm sorry, it creates PDFs for all of it. So it'll create a rescission, whether or not you need it. It'll create an acceptance, whether or not you need it. It'll create the 3877 mailing forms. It'll create the notices of dishonor, the certificates of this. It creates everything all at that one spot. It's amazing. It's perfect.
Well,
Absolutely perfect. And so once you know what you're doing and you know which ones you want, then you just download the PDFs. And then when you're ready to mail, you can print them out, do your stamps, do everything you need to do, and move on. But the software, having that software piece is huge. It's huge.
somebody asked a really good question. I know the benefit of going through what you have set up to make myself pretty much indestructible in court on a certain level. But, how do we help our friends, and what benefits do we have outside of the course besides access to you?
Well, you'll know how to do it. You'll be able to do it for anyone you ever want to help.
Through power of attorney?
No, that's why I get signature stamps.
Right.
I'm not doing any paperwork.
No, I'm clarifying because of the question.
No, yeah. So when somebody comes and asks for my help, they get a signature stamp, and they're the ones signing all the documents, not me.
Mhm.
I have nothing to do with it.
So it looks like they're the ones that are doing it instead of someone's doing it for everybody,
But I've had,
like lawyers do.
I've had somebody say, "Why is all this paperwork coming from Delaware?" So I started doing some from Pennsylvania just to confuse them.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to, you can mail them down to me in Tennessee, and I'll mail them out of here.
Well, that's the beauty of it. So
Yeah.
I use Mega. So if I do a whole court case for somebody, and I can get them proficient on how to do the stamping, I can just send them the PDFs. They can do their own printing. They can do and they can mail from their own area. Like that's the beauty of the software. So I can go into Mega and I can do presentment 1 and what it is, and then I can put all the files that go with it, presentment 2, and I can just create folders and put it all up in Mega, and then I just share that folder with whoever the assignment is, They can sit at home, they can print all the PDFs, they can do all their own stuffing of envelopes, putting the stamps on, mailing, they can do all their own stuff. It's great. But I don't trust many people to be able to do that. Like you have to, like that to me is a student that understands the process but can't quite do it yet, where we would review things together. Like your first court case, you're gonna say to yourself, holy crap, for the first time in my life, I got somebody's life in my hands. And like that's a serious thing. So you might want a second set of eyes on it. Well, we can put it everything you're doing, you put a folder up, we share it up in Mega, and then when we get online and we can start like talking back and forth, say, all right, this looks good, this looks good. We can go over the entire case. We can review it together. Like that's why it's so cool that the program turns everything into a PDF, because then you can save them up to a cloud system and we can review them together. But once you're off on your own, I mean, heck, most court cases are thousands of dollars. I mean, if you did one a month, you'd make a living.
Yeah.
You'd make a living.
I think that's also part of this call is you know, you're presenting your information in your training program out there, class, whatever you want to refer to it as. And you know, we have 32 people on the call tonight. You're going to get some minions. And if Chris is true that we're the smartest pack that he's dealt with, you're going to have a bunch of mini-me's running around.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is a research group. This is a big time research group.
You'll hear me say time and again that I want everyone to replace me. Because
I'm the same way. That's
gang. That's how it's supposed to be. Gang.
I mean, this isn't mine. This is everybody's. I'm just the one that's bringing it.
Yeah. I think I'm all about changing the way things are. Because it's too corrupt. This is a way of fouling the corruption. Now, the process has been mostly a defensive kind of process.
Absolutely.
How would you discuss moving it into an offensive process once you get the defense down?
Well, that's you know who I'm mentioning.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, we're very close to having that nailed down 100%. Let's just say that I'm starting on mine this week. Not the offense, but getting this first piece knocked out to where the offense can be next. I'll be ordering probably $1,000 to $1,500 worth of a docket, so I can find all the people who participated in the fraud. And so yeah, that piece is coming. The biggest reason why I try not to help people is so that I can stay doing all these other things. There's some really cool stuff going on out there, and I talk about everything on the Monday night calls. Like if you're in the class, I'm not hiding anything from you. Anything that I'm allowed to share, I share. Because I want like everybody to know as much as me or more. Heck, the best thing that could ever happen is I get somebody in the class and they've got something to exchange that I don't know. I love being able to exchange ideas. It's phenomenal.
That's what this class is about, or this group is about. They're very, very liberal at sharing information. I just wanted people to know that this is moving in directions. That it's not just going there, because see, my thoughts on the matter is they're creating all these bonds because of these charges, and would would doing this process make them rich? They're already getting rich doing it their way. If we could stop that, that would be great. That's why I appreciate seeing this moving in the direction that it's going into.
Yeah, there's some interesting things that one of my guys and I are working on with the certificates, and we did a little deeper study on it. And if we can get the result I think we're going to get from it, then yeah, there might actually be a monetary side of this, but we have to prove it out. I don't think anyone's ever tried. I know my mentor hasn't. He probably yell at me if he heard me.
What are you doing?
You can't do it that way. I said you can't until you can. So
yeah.
what's the worst case? We do something wrong. We have to rescission it. Like, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
So
I'm just wondering if and if that doesn't work either, Will, maybe we can work this UCC1 thing that the Supreme Court of Tennessee so graciously moved us into. Yeah, that's
no,
and I'll share that with y'all.
Yeah,
I'll
there's
share
some
as
stuff
that
going on.
progresses. I'll share you that. I'll share that with you too, man.
Yeah.
The last thing really is, if the class is not available to you because of price, just talk to us. We're not trying to make price be an issue. So just talk to us. We work with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it needs to cost something though, because it's like the first conditional acceptance that I ever did. I didn't really do it myself. Gary did it. But I just basically told him what the deal was, and he showed me it. It cost me $5,500. And that was before, I was the one that came up with how do you get paid? So it was worth $5,500 just to do that. Because the thing about my case in the child support is completely gone. When I dropped that on them, folks, it was gone. The debt was gone. There was a real small piece of property that I had before I'd bought this other 5 acres, and it had a lien on it from child support. And when I did the thing I did, it was gone. So it was worth that to me. It was worth it. The knowledge was worth it,
Yeah, your conditional acceptance is a commercial.
Yeah.
And
it's a contract.
Yeah,
it's
you're in water world. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to learn what I know on this process, it had to have cost me at least $30,000. The number of times I flew to California a minimum 16, 18 times at about $850 a pop. And then the class itself, for me, I paid 10 grand. So when you see what we offer it for,
Yeah.
to me, it's I don't know. I have a distaste in the Guru network, and because I know a lot of what they were making, and people had no remedy. And then I look at what this is being offered for, and you're getting a remedy. I just kind of laugh like,
Yeah.
But
that's very important. I wanted to chime in on that for a second. Will, what you're doing, I understand people need to have a vested interest to have a value on what they're getting. And I honestly think everything's right. Now, I know this video is going to be put up and shared, but everybody knows my motto. I don't like to pay for information, but with what you have providing, and I'm not selling out, but with what you're providing, it's important to me, and I want it for myself, but then I want it for my friends. And another thing you said is you don't want to be the person that keeps doing this. And to me, that's when I worked in retail management, I had every new employee attached to my hip, because in retail management, you live in your store. So I wanted all my employees empowered as a manager. I wanted them to know what I know, think how I think, and perform their job when I am not there. So that what you said there it really resonated with me. And I just wanted to mention that's the perfect mindset to have with what you're doing and what people in this group are going to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I took what I learned, brought it to a couple people because they made me, and we created something. If you're gifted at computer programming or something and you take this class and you master it, there's nothing that says that you can't go create your own program. You can go create, I don't care. This isn't mine. The only thing that is mine is how I'm relaying the information to you. What you do with it, as long as you do it correctly, but what you do with it, I don't care. Have at it. Just go kill them. Go knock it out of the ballpark. I mean, if you really wanted to turn this into like your business,
It's right there.
You
It's
could
turning.
crush it. You could easily clear 6 figures, easily.
Well, the mentality in this group is where we go one, we go all.
I just know at the end of the day, this is a tool. This is not the ultimate answer. It is just a very, very effective tool. And there's some other tools that hopefully will come online shortly. We just have to figure out how we're going to integrate this with that. But I'm part of another group, and we're putting together kind of like a one-stop how-to. And we're working on some other technology. We're working on some other things that so far are having some phenomenal results. And now we have to test out the lawsuit side of it. And that's where we start draining accounts. Not the pot of gold, Social Security, BC accounts. We start draining their accounts for not following their contracts.
Yeah. So just give us a little maybe a percentage or whatever. What's the success rate so far? Let them know about that.
I was about to ask that too, because it was asked in the group.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the toughest thing, because the cases that I've worked on from start to finish, we've had the 3 court cases that I've involved myself in, I'm 3 for 3. I think that I'm getting drug into another one that I don't want to be drug into, and then I have 2 others. I'll let you know about those once they're complete. I would expect by the end of November that those will be complete. But I'm 3 for 3 on those. IRS sends me love letters. They like me. They sent me one, notice of and reversal of seriously delinquent taxes. I think I ever paid them. No. The state taxing sent me to a collection agency, which is hilarious. You think they would do something else, but they can't, because you're in honor. My dad, I think he was doing 90 in Virginia, and that ticket went away. DUIs have gone away. Franchise tax board has gone away. Trying to think what else. Well, heck, I have a friend of mine that he got a liar loan for his mom's house. He accepted the first 7, 8, 9 statements with the vouchers. Then they sent him the original contract. He rescissioned it. They sent him the deed. That was interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some stuff that's happened. But Can I guarantee success? Of course not, because equity must be before the judge's eyes at all times. Your paperwork is just step one. If you're in court, you have to know what you're saying. And so, no, we know of people that have failed in court tremendously, and it's typically parents trying to do something for their kids where their kids rather get high than study. You know, a friend of mine just told me, look, I didn't want to help the guy. I told him what was going to happen, and what happened happened. Like you can see it coming when they don't understand. But then I had a cool situation when we were teaching the class where it all fell apart. I was talking with a guy in Utah, had huge tax issues there, and the first day, talked to him. He's like, I don't really want to talk about court. He was like grumpy, this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, and so his wife gets on the phone. Yeah, he did horrible, and like she was like dogging him. I'm like, what the heck? You're gonna lose your husband. What are you doing? So he gets back on the phone, and for another 45 minutes, I pound back into him everything he needs to do. The next day, after court's over, he calls me, and it's the happiest I've ever heard him. And now his wife is like a cheerleader. You should have seen him. Oh my gosh. And then the third day he calls me back. And I think the lady, the prosecutor, and this was federal, and the prosecutor lady was like, we have all these signed documents here. And he just stood up and goes, Your Honor, I rescission all of those. I'm like, dude, that is some serious balls. Like I don't even know if I would have thought to say I rescission all of those. Because that was hilarious, because he has the equitable right to rescission all that crap. Now, me personally, I would like to have seen, Your Honor, I would like to review those, and I would have written rescission on every single one of them. But what he did, it was hilarious. So what did they do? They offered him a plea deal of 1 year in some country club prison where you're allowed to walk down into town every day and you can hang out with your family. And I don't even know what's going on in Utah. I don't know what that's called. I didn't even know that existed. But he said, yeah, I don't feel like doing this anymore. If I only have to go to this country club for a year, I'm going to go do that. So, yeah, I mean, that to me is a loss, but to him, it was a win. So, yeah, it's only going to be as good as you can teach your people, as far as what to say in court. But if you can get them to understand you're just there on a business deal, you're trying to get them to render the account, and everything else is just offers. And if they start getting mean, they start yelling at you. If you say that again, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. Your Honor, are you attempting to use threat, duress, coercion, force, or fear to get me to accept something for your benefit or for the benefit of a third party? Like, if you can't rattle that crap off, then you're probably not ready for court. Or if you can't rattle it off, but know what needs to be said, and you have it on a piece of paper and you can go to it immediately and read it, well, then you're ready for court. But that's why, like, when Chris was talking about the script, like, if it's one thing to have a script, but if you don't know what the hell it means, what are you doing? Like, what's the point of it? It's not magic. You can't say, Judge, I got all these words and I win. Like, it just doesn't work that way. But yeah, the success rate, you should win every time. You should win every time, because you've honored everything. And I think it was Chief Justice Rehnquist that said anyone who's in prison is there voluntarily. Well, how's that possible? You contracted. He talked in a parable. He just didn't tell you you're there on a contract.
Yeah, except for me and my friends. I don't think we contracted with we didn't contract with anything.
It's funny because so in here they're saying they can't do contempt of court. I don't care what they do, because anything they do is going to be an offer. I could have said, Your Honor, I recognize compelled performance. However, I'm unaware of any contract or commercial agreement bearing my signature that would cause me to acquiesce to your demand. However, if there's a contract or a commercial agreement bearing my signature, please bring it forward. I'll review it and obey it to the letter of the law. If he brings me a contract with my name on it, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to rescission it right there on the spot. Now what you got?
Yeah. What's he going to do now? All right.
So
well, if you think that covers it pretty good, if you want to open this up for some questions,
just
if
stay
you
in
feel
honor.
up to it.
Stay in honor.
Stay in honor.
Be at peace. It's nothing personal. It's business.
It's all commerce.
Yeah, I think it's up to you, Will. I think we covered a lot of topics without questions, and then it's 8:30, question and answer time. I'd like to keep it. I don't know how much time Will has, but I'd like to keep it related to the topic. And then if Will has to go, he'll go, and we'll talk about anything else we want, and depending on Chris's time and our time. Do we want to record the question and answers?
Nah, leave those people be.
Okay.
Yeah, you can probably stop recording.
All right.
It's already now almost an hour and a half into it, but people watch it. People